Hello, welcome. In this recording I'm going to give a little explanation about how to play this game, VCR Repair Simulator, that I made as part of the 2020 Global Game Jam, where you make a game in 48 hours. So, if you've got a nice little cup of coffee in front of you, and let's sit down and do some work. These VCRs won't fix themselves. In this first example, I actually have a fully functioning VCR, just to demonstrate the basic controls and theory, and then I'll make another video where I go through without any voiceover and just diagnose and repair a VCR. So let's start off. To move the camera, just move your mouse. You've got a little green ball, that's your pointer. When you've got an object highlighted in the pink, you can go ahead and pick it up with the left mouse button. And you can rotate by holding down. Sorry, you pick up with the left mouse button, you rotate with the right mouse button. So you can rotate objects. You can also zoom in with the scroll wheel. Let go, drop. Alright, so typically you won't be able to figure out what's going wrong with the VCR unless you can plug it into a TV and diagnose it. You also won't be able to do much of anything useful with the VCR if you can't do that. So we're going to go ahead and get it plugged in. Quick note about highlights. You see how here I have the whole box selected? Up here I have the lid selected. Down here I have a button selected. The thing that is highlighted is the thing that you have selected. So make sure that you have the thing that you want to move selected. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and grab this VCR, turn it around, plug in power, that's the black cable, and then these three AV cords. The order does matter. Okay, if you plug yellow into white, it won't work. So let's go ahead and you can either break audio or video or both. So you got to make sure you plug in them all and plug them in the correct order. So the revolving green arrow indicates that you have a valid socket. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Alright, so we're all plugged in now. We should be able to a little crooked. Oh well. Alright, let's go ahead and grab a cassette, pop it in. Let's see.
Look at those talented hands of mine.
Sure seems to work. Alright. And so we can go ahead and we can fast forward, we can play, we can fast forward, we can pause, we can rewind. Okay. Seems to work. We can eject. Cool. Alright. Now let's go ahead and open this up, and let's make it not work anymore. So let's go ahead and turn it upside down. This is where the screws are. The screws are all on the back, or the bottom. Now, to undo screws, you line up the screwdriver and then you turn it. Same as you would rotate an object that you've got held otherwise. Keep in mind that the screws are actually counter-threaded. That is an important security feature. It's to keep nosy consumers out. It's not because I forgot to multiply a number by -1. Come on. Alright, there we go. Let's set that down. 2, 3, and 4 case screws. Alright, let's go ahead and flip this thing back over. Now, let's go ahead and take off the cover and take a look inside. So, over on the left, we have the playback controller. The playback controller is the interface between the buttons and the cassette. It makes the cassette go forwards and backwards, and it uses the playback motor, which is this motor right here, in order to do that. Up top here, we have the AV board. The AV board processes the signal from the cassette and sends it to the TV for both audio and video. Over here we have the power board. The power board manages power for the entire VCR. If the power board doesn't work, the VCR doesn't work. So everything needs this to work. All right. And then finally down here we have the deck. The deck manages ejecting and accepting tapes, and the actual playback mechanism is in there as well. So, all right. So, and it uses the ejection motor here to slide in and out. All right. So for when we all that good stuff. So, all right, let's break this. Let's go ahead and put in a tape.
If you want great tasting coffee with a richer, smoother flavor,
Nescafe is the one to pot.
All right, so the AV board is kind of important to having a functioning VCR. So let's go ahead and remove that. So, like I said, color-coded screws. That means in order to remove yellow screws like the ones on these circuit boards here, you're going to need a yellow screwdriver. Right? So, as opposed to having to squint, you know, to look at specific colored screw heads. So let's go ahead and pull that out. Pull that out. Grab our board. So we can see, stopped working. But if I put in a new one, you know, if that had been a broken board, now we'd be back up in business. So we can go ahead and
That's why you should try daily brushing with Denclay.
screw in the new
Unlike most
board.
tablets, Denclay's special liquid and brush remove tartar roughness.
Minor
as
point
well as
of
stains in minutes. Denclay
order,
keeps
but you
dentures
know,
so
just
smooth,
because it isn't
so
playing
clean, you can
through the
feel
video
difference.
or the audio, doesn't mean
you can feel the difference with
that it
Denclay.
isn't actually playing, right? The playback and the AV are separate systems, so keep that in mind. Alright, so how's that? So how do you actually diagnose and repair one of these? Well, if nothing is working, if nothing seems to be working, if it won't even accept a tape, it's going to be either a problem with the ejection motor, or a problem with the deck, or a problem with the power. If it accepts a tape, but it won't play, then it's going to be a problem with the playback motor, or the playback controller, or the AV deck. Unfortunately, on these older models, there's not a whole lot in the way of indication lights, so you're pretty much going to have to do some trial and error, you know, and the boss, unfortunately, is too cheap to get an oscilloscope or even just a cheap multimeter. I mean, he's a real, you know, but what can you do? So you're just gonna, all you got is screwdrivers and your brain, and that's just gonna have to be enough. One last note: make sure that you put all the screws back in when you're done. Okay, all right. It's not a complete job unless all of the components have been put back in, including the screws. All right, they're very expensive, and you don't want to get a call from a customer about how their VCR, didn't have all the screws. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together, and I'll see you in the next video. And remember, have fun, good luck, and treat the VCR with some respect. This is a paying customer's beloved piece of audio video equipment. So, all right, take care.